Okay, because I want to be mindful of everyone's time here today, we're going to get started. So, hello, everyone. I'm Vanessa Dodds. I'm a 21 plus year cross sector executive who has led multiple change management initiatives, strategic planning and strategy initiatives for companies, and also digital transformation and workforce development across corporate, small business, nonprofit, as well as government sectors. I've really seen it all across all those sectors, but there is a common theme and that threads through everything, and this is one thing that I've been talking about. If you've watched any of my videos or have you seen, I really drill down into fixing the systems first. And so we're going to be talking about that a little bit in leadership here today. But I'm excited to talk on this topic of what are you doing today to elevate as a leader? Or what are you doing to elevate your leadership skills? If you're not in that leadership role, you maybe never want to have a leadership role, but I guarantee that each and every one of you have led a project, manage some type of initiative in your workplace. And guess what? That's all leadership skills. So all of you have had leadership skills and been a leader to some element. Some core items we'll be touching on here today are leadership skills and tech savviness that leaders really need to adapt to today to always be able to not only survive, but thrive, disruption, and help lead those agile impact and deliverables consistently, regardless of what change environment is happening. And like I said, I know not all of you are in designated leadership titles, but so everyone can engage here today. I'm looking forward to this conversation because, like I said, each and every one of our skill sets that we have are leaning into some leadership ability that's going to elevate any organization, any company that you are a part of or going to be a part of in your roles. So, I always have looked at leadership in three ways. And I think there's three ways from my experience, especially today, that people need to lean into as leaders. Number one is see systems, not just situations. I'll give you an example of this. A $47 billion government agency that I led an entire change management shift on, they were redesigning what was happening, how they were engaging with their constituents, how they were bringing in programming and program participants and issuing programming out to the statewide public. But what we needed to do first before they really could succeed in those elements is we need to look at the broken systems. We needed to listen to the needs and deliverables of all the constituents as well as the team members, and having to realize that the processes that needed to be put in place had to be based on what those needs were for, not just internally what at that point the government agency was looking to do. So we really had to lean into what was the impact, not just the ROI for them internally. Because problems are not singular, right? And it's often an ecosystem of variables, systems, talent, operation, workplace culture, people, and external elements, that are disrupting certain things, and we have to lead through all this. It's never like a singular easy way, right? So a good leader understands the value of analysis versus assumption to really get to the core and root cause of any problem, and they lean in and listen is one of the core things that they do. And number two, I always feel to evolve as a leader, you need to invest in your skills, not just roles, skills that matter. And they're not just technical or tangible skills. There are a lot of those soft skills, transferable skills, that critical thinking, the empathy aspect as well. That's what I feel too many leaders kind of forget about is that empathy piece. And that's how you really can evolve as any leadership skill that you're developing. And number three, in my opinion and my experience, the best way to evolve as a leader is to be authentically visible and communicate transparency. Visibility is tied to value and honest communication, and that's what builds trust. So, all of those three elements, as I just mentioned, or what I believe really help leaders evolve with the skill sets they need today. So I'll kind of recap on what those were. Number one, see systems, not situations. Really, number two, you need to invest in your skills. Number three, you need to be authentic and build that trust. So I'm going to open up the floor to everyone. So, first thing I want to do, I want to see what everyone views truthfully as when you hear the word leadership. What's the first word that comes to mind? Go ahead and type in the chat and I will list mine as you guys are thinking and ready to type. So mine are, I believe you got to be a good communicator. And to be a good communicator, you got to be a good listener. You have to be a motivator. You have to be inspirational. You have to mentor and really be a role model. And not only be a mentor, you have to also be a mentee. You have to be willing to be taught yourself as a leader, regardless of what level you're in, management, leadership, or upper executive level, you have to really be that mentee also. You have to be strategic and visionary and empathetic. You already heard me say that. So those are my ideas. Any comments from all of you? I'd love to see what you think. One word that comes to mind when you hear leadership. Everyone seems to be a little quiet here today. That's okay. Of the three things I talked about, any of those resonate with you? Of today, what's really relevant for today? Investing in skills, really looking at maybe a system, an ecosystem rather than a singular problem, or also, really leaning into, as I had mentioned, what is your authenticity? How are you visible? So, if any of you, if you don't want to list your singular words, maybe you can type in the comments here what are some skills you're building right now that you will still matter in 5 years? I mean, think about the evolution of everything that's going on. So, is there a skill that you're developing for yourself as a professional, maybe to aspire into a leadership role or just to lead various elements in your job that you're looking to develop and grow? Brooke, would you like to share anything? Any skill that you want to develop? Type it in the comments. How about James, Tawny? Oh, we have a couple more joining in here. Hello, welcome everyone. I'm Vanessa Dodds. Welcome to our session here. We're talking through, what you need to develop and how to evolve as a leader really for today and the challenges that are going on. I just posed a couple questions to everyone. So those that just joined in, Benedette and Chris, you can also chime in as well in the chat here. We're talking through what skills do you think you need to develop, evolve, or continue learning that will still matter in 5 years for leadership? Thank you for spotlighting that. Oh, perfect. So we're going to spotlight this right here. Thank you very much for whoever is on here and spotlighting that. I should be dropping those questions in as well. I see James said be visible. Absolutely. So being visible is multifaceted, right? So it's not only being the loudest one in the room, being the bossiest one. You don't want to be necessarily that, but what that, as we talked about, that authenticity of being truly you, not bringing one version of yourself to the workplace and then a whole nother version of yourself at home. It's being authentically you And being visible is truly communicating and being honest. Well, yes, you can present your ideas and you should present your ideas in multiple ways, but visibility to me is showcasing kind of what you're thinking and how you're thinking as well, and how you really collaborate and how you are showing up. And again, like I said, showing up and being honest and trustworthy. Those are all part of visibility that are core components of leadership right now. Is that you're being transparent, you're being honest, you're empathetic as a leader, in addition to having that strategy, that vision, all of those elements. But that is fantastic, being visible. So I will spotlight James here, so I didn't pull that over, but James said being visible. So absolutely, absolutely. And then James, ah, James says, here's a leader I greatly respect. Williams, I'm probably going to butcher this name and I apologize. Tekushim Sherman. Here is a summary: be approachable and visible. Sherman earned the nickname Uncle Billy by being approachable and frequently visible on front lines. Think about that. So, you know how they say, come out of the ivory white tower, as they say sometimes? That's absolutely it. So, as leaders, if you come and you engage and you are working with your employees and really saying, I'm willing to roll up my sleeves and work with you or hear you and see what you're doing and really be a part of this organization and company, that's when you really get the visibility and you gain that respect from everyone. Absolutely. And it says, he explained that every soldier of my command comes into my presence as easy as the highest officer. They see me daily, nightly, and hourly. Wow, think about that statement. They see me daily, nightly, and hourly. That is a fantastic statement. So, visibility isn't just, like I said, being the loudest one in the room. It is actually being there. Your team members know you. They can reach out and say, for example, they say, you know what, Vanessa, I need help. And they're not afraid to come and ask that, or to say, can you come and see what's going on here? Or, I really need some ideas. And they know you're available for that. Fantastic. All right, here's another one we're going to spotlight. What are some first steps we can take to start to evolve as a leader? How do you recommend we build these leadership skills? The first step I always recommend is a self reflection. So, what type of leader do you want to be? How do you want to be known? Talking about visibility as a leader. And that's the first thing. And then why do you really want to lead? So once you have all those answers like for yourself, then that's going to allow you to lean into the direction of, you know, mentors you can acquire, skill sets you can start to develop, maybe engagements you start to be a part of as you evolve into that leader. But I always feel that the self reflection is the key component of your leadership development, and being honest with yourself with that as well. And how do I recommend you build these leadership skills? Number one, seek a mentor who is leading the way you really want to lead or you appreciate how they are leading. That is one of the biggest things. Get a mentor. Surround yourself in networking groups, in ways you can engage with other leaders. And you have your community, but then you're not feeling isolated as you evolve into that leadership skills. You have your community that you can always exchange ideas with. You have your mentor you can lean on and ask questions as you evolve. So those are my best recommendations. And I say read books. As you read, they always say the best leaders are the most frequent readers, as they say. Read books, acquire as much knowledge. And I'm talking books that could be from, a century old, but when you read those books, you would be surprised at how much it's evolving and it's like a cycle. It's the same here today. So those would be my suggestions of how to evolve as a leader. Another question we have here. What's one common mistake professionals make when trying to look like or become a leader? Great question. They're not authentic. They are not authentic. And when that shows, you can tell right away they're trying to be fake. They're just posing or trying to pose or act as a leader. Um, because in truthfully, in my mind, they lack the self-confidence and they didn't do that self-reflection as to why they truly wanted to be a leader. But also, they are too demanding. They dictate rather than listen. Their communication is bold rather than empathetic and open and inviting. Um, those are some things that I really do see and mistakes that professionals make when trying to look like or become a leader. That they're not realizing what they're leading for or why they wanted to lead. Remember, I said first you got to do that self reflection and never try to be an imposter or act like someone else that just isn't you. Always be authentically you because that's when you gain the trust, that's when you gain respect, and that's when you gain team respect, and they will always, more than likely, I'd say 95% more likely to buy in and help you grow a company, evolve in your profit metrics or your impact metrics. They will help you reach your goals, as a leader. Great question. What are some of your favorite leadership books or podcasts? Oh, so there's a lot of great books out there. I love John Maxwell. He's one of my favorites that I read all of his books. Um, I also, the podcast that I'm really listening to right now and I dig into, you know, it's oh my gosh, it just escaped out of my mind. It's Steve Bartlett's podcast uh, where he's talking to all these CEOs and he's really leaning into everything. But there's a lot of leaders, and I'm telling you, go back, read a lot of the Carnegie's books and all of our founding, industry greats. Read those books. Those are great leaders. That in my mind, Carnegie is one of the best because he kind of was a rebel in his Andrew Carnegie. He was a rebel in his belief. So he didn't want to keep it all to himself and kind of be that dominant leader. He wanted to lean in and mentor. And he has tons of books about all of that and really digging into his story. I suggest reading some of his. Those are some of my favorite ones. Mindset of a CEO. Thanks. It just was out of my brain. Thank you so much. So yes, all great questions. All great questions. Now that we are diving into some of these questions, what I someone mentioned about, who should they lean into and seek leadership things from? I'm going to turn the question on you. What qualities do you recognize as being the best leadership qualities amongst leaders that you really admire or aspire to be like? Let me tell you some of the qualities that I love. So while we're waiting here, like you already heard me say, transparent communication is something that I absolutely admire in leaders. I really love leaders that are truly authentic and they admit their faults and they communicate those faults. To me, that's so genuine. And like I said, I'm always bought into that. They are very humble. Those are the great leaders that I always see. They're courageous but humble, if that makes sense. Ah, yes, David, I see virtuous, AKA, here, we're going to spotlight this. So virtuous, also known as Marcus Aurelius. Yes, yes. So virtuous, great qualities. Absolutely. I really think leaders need to be innovative too. And when I say this, I mean, really kind of that thinking out of the box. Don't always, have to do the industry standard, what all your fellow leaders are doing in like that line of business, or maybe even outside of, really think outside the box and be creative. And like I said, I think they really can gain this. And leadership skills you really need to evolve right now is leading into what's all your team members saying? What are your customers saying? That's how you build all of that. So, absolutely. So, as we're coming down here to the end, I want to ask a question for all of you. As you're looking to evolve, like I said, some of you might not want to be the quote leader title. You don't want to be the CEO, you don't want to be the president, you don't want to be the VP, you don't want to be a director, but you will potentially and more than likely, I would say probably about 98% chance, be leading some project or managing some aspect of, the business of what your profession goes into or you're currently doing. So what is one leadership action you will commit to doing this week, or maybe developing a leadership skill? So I'm going to copy this in so I can spotlight it. I'll type it down here. Bear with me. I kind of got a bum shoulder and I'm supposed to have my sling on, but I took it off. So bear with me. I'm a little stiff shouldered here. And then I see another question, but I'm going to spotlight. We're going to close this one. There's the question. So what is one leadership action, or like I said, leadership skill? I'll add something else into it. You're committing to doing this week or developing this week. So as you're thinking about that and you're typing it into the chat, let me tell you what I'm going to do, because I believe leaders always are lifelong learners as well. Remember I said reading? You should always read. So as you read, you gain perspective, you learn something new. But one thing I'm going to commit to this week, weirdly enough, me and technology, we don't get along all that well, but I love it. I'm kind of addicted to it. I'm addicted to new technology, new platform, AI. So I'm going to commit to at least practicing learning a new platform this week, that then I can utilize that with my entire community and my work and what I do. So that's one thing I'm going to commit to. So remember that, drop it in the comments of one leadership action or skill you're going to commit to this week. And we're going to spotlight this question right here. The question is, how can I show leadership potential if I don't have a formal leadership title yet? Fantastic question. Like I said, you can always show leadership in bringing ideas, being creative. You could always mentor another colleague of yours. You don't have to have a title to mentor and help others and elevate others. That's that transformational leadership. You elevate others and you allow them to shine. So maybe it's someone that's quieter in your workplace. That's one thing that you can do without a formal leadership title. Another thing that you can do, you can always, like I said, present your ideas and ensure that those are known. You can also listen in or maybe ask, how can I engage in moving some initiatives forward? Take that um, take that role in that motivation and show that motivation of, you want to take the next step, you want to be a contributing partner, and cog in the spoke in the wheel, or cog in the wheel as you say, for moving initiatives forward. So that is one thing that you can always do, if you're to show leadership potential, if you don't have that formal title. Again, how do you communicate? Having good communication skills, like I said, the main part of communication that people often forget, it's not verbally what's coming out of your mouth, it's what are you listening to? How are you comprehending and understanding, and then reiterating that back to the person that you've understood before answering. Too often we answer without actually taking in what other people say. So I would say that is critical leadership skill and potential that you can show without having the title? Fantastic questions. So as we're coming down here to the end, like I said, I want you to think about, if you do aspire to become a leader or you are in a leadership role, what is one action you can take today or commit to this week to really evolve as a leader? Um, because tomorrow really requires, in any field or any role, personal growth. And like I said, that self reflection of why you might want to have any leadership authority or any leadership facet in your capacity, regardless of what field, industry, or position you're in. And we talked about visibility, and visibility a lot of times is that authenticity. So, what is one way you can really show that authenticity out to others and be a little more raw and be authentic in saying, this is who I am. I'm not bringing a different Vanessa to the workplace. I'm the same Vanessa that you're going to find at my house on a Saturday or a Sunday. It's me. Like I said, I might not be everyone's cup of tea, and I realize that, but I'm open and willing and empathetic to talk to all people. And I hope people would give me that respect too. So that's what I would say as a leader. Take that time to reflect this weekend. This, after the session this weekend, as you're rolling out and finding what's going on, of how would I want to grow my leadership skills? So I want to thank everyone as we're coming up here to the last minute. I want to really, I hope you took something of value out of this session here today. I want to thank all of you. Thank you for the great questions and statements of leadership that all of you are inquiring about. So if you've enjoyed this session today, go ahead and give me a thumbs up and let me know that you took some little inkling of value out of this. You can drop it in the chat if you want to. But I'm so glad that all of you joined me here today to talk about what skills and what really mentality you need to evolve for leadership for today and tomorrow, because it's a fast-paced world. And like I said, really being that authentic person, looking at systems rather than just one piece of it, and always realizing that you have to learn, and it's a skills development. I think that'll take you far here in the future. So if you want to stay in touch, we can stay in touch. I am on LinkedIn, but I highly suggest you find me on subs.com, because there you'll see all my videos. You're able to direct message me and have access to me and direct message me. It's a subscription, only $8 a month if you choose, but otherwise you can follow me. And if you follow, you get sometimes, content that isn't available to everyone else. And that's an easiest way to stay in touch, that we can always communicate. You're very welcome, David. Thank you so much for everyone for coming here. And I will have to say, for a limited time, if anyone is interested, I am offering 25 executive strategy calls. So if you're interested, direct message me on LinkedIn or find me on Subs. I would love to talk with you if that's anything of interest. But until next time, everyone, thank you for coming and make it a great day.